We will call the meeting to order in just about 30 seconds. It's now 10 o'clock. Good morning. It's time now for this formal session of the Board of Northern Michigan University. We'll be beginning at exactly at 10 o'clock. First item of the agenda is the roll call. Secretary Andrew, will you please call the roll?
Trustee Fatante. Trustee Hart.
Present.
Trustee Haveman.
Present.
Trustee Mahaney.
Here.
Trustee Mitchell.
Here?
Trustee Murray Brown.
Here.
Trustee Savoy.
Here.
Trustee Young.
Here.
We have a quorum present with one trustee absent.
And Trustee Fatante is in Iron Mountain. One of her employees was tested positive for COVID, and as a result of that, she chose to stay there and needed to get checked herself. So with that in mind, let's first of all take a look at the agenda and approve the agenda today. Is there a motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented?
I move to approve the agenda. Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion on approval of the agenda? Seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion's carried, and we have approved the agenda. Now we'd like to have a moment of silence for two members of the Wildcat community. First of all, Vice President Leach will read a memorial for Shane Hawkins, who is an employee at Northern Michigan University.
Thank you, Chair Mitchell. Shane Hawkins, Dining Services Operations Manager, passed away peacefully at home on September 4th, 2020, following a short battle with cancer. After high school, Shane proudly served in the United States Army and then went on to graduate from Northern Michigan University Hospitality Management Program in 2003. Shane joined the Dining Services team, serving in multiple capacities for almost 10 years. He was a recipient of the Distinguished Team Award and extremely dedicated to his job, family, and friends. Shane was incredibly passionate about serving others, providing outstanding service, and consistently helping others in any way that he could. Shane leaves behind two young boys and a team that will miss him greatly. Carrie Schuling will come up.
Provost Schuling will read a memorial for Noah Sims, a student.
I request a moment of silence for student Noah Sims, who died on October 10, 2020. Noah, 20 years old, was in his second year at NMU as a general studies major. Noah was from Owasso, Michigan. I request a moment of silence for both these individuals. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Provost Schuling. If I might just comment for a moment, it's always especially hard and tragic to lose a student, and it's heartbreaking for the family and for all of their friends. It's equally heartbreaking to lose someone who's been a valuable part of the Wildcat community and who's done such an extraordinary job, especially with young children. So on behalf of the board, we send our deepest condolences to the families and all who loved both Shane Hawkins and Noah Sims. With that in mind, Secretary Andrew, are there any requests to address the board?
Yes, we have two. First is Ms. Lizandra Perez.
Is Lysandra Perez there she is. Thank you.
Do I just begin and then my time will start? Or
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
As soon as you begin, your time will start. Thank you, Lysandra.
We are here today to speak with you because graduate assistants have concerns about the lack of support and pattern of disrespect we have received from the university's administration during this year's pandemic, which is predicted in January to claim the lives of 410,000 people in America alone. To put this figure into context, We have about 7,136 undergraduate students. If it is though, as our whole student body were wiped out 57 times in a single year. In the September Q&A with President Fritz Erickson, instead of answering our questions about the ethical treatment of workers during the COVID pandemic, Erickson chose to hide behind the lie that we are not employees of the university. Are we not employees after all the prior rhetoric referred to us as so? From our employment contracts to Lisa Eckert's calling us employees in her, in her communications with us. As if we are not employees, the university sent us oath cards to sign as required by the Michigan State Article 11, Section 1 Constitution, that we are employees. That is only required if you are an employee. We are concerned because many of us come from working class families, are people of color, are immigrants, LGBTQ+, are neurodiverse and or differently abled. By telling us to look to our parents for insurance, they are miscalculating our access to this economic privilege. We are concerned because the policy of withholding health insurance to GAs implies that working class, BIPOC, queer, and poor white folk who do not otherwise have access to health insurance should not come to the school. Sadly, this is a familiar reality in an academic institution throughout history. Informed by the scholarship of Dr. Ibram X. Kendi, founder of Boston University's Anti-Racist Institute, we are concerned at the conclusion drawn. Due to the effects of the policy, the conclusion drawn is that it is legally constituted racism, classism, and sexism. At a time when everyone around the world is called to proclaim that all Black lives matter, we cannot let this go unaddressed. Chairman Steve Mitchell, yesterday afternoon, you told us that there have only been 70,000 cases of university students contracting COVID-19 and only 3 hospitalizations across the nation. This distorts the facts. According to the New York Times on October 8th, 2020, there have been over 178,000 cases reported of COVID-19 across 1,700 American colleges and universities, and at least 70 deaths. Those affected by the pandemic on the campus are much more than undergraduate students. We demand that you stop spreading misinformation. Without providing any additional compensation, the administration has placed us into a life-threatening situation without the protection of health insurance and completely without our consent. We call upon you to advocate for us as we struggle for health insurance, adequate compensation, and better protections for us during the pandemic. It is absolutely shameful that you would hide behind your bureaucracies, shared governance, and processes. You act as if your hands were tied, but you have all the power to influence decisions across the university. As a religious person, I would like to share with you all the parable of the lost sheep. In the Gospel of Luke, the parable is as follows. He told them this parable. Which of you men, if you had 100 sheep and lost one of them, wouldn't leave the 99 in the wilderness and go after the one that was lost until he found it? When he has found it, he carries it on his shoulders, rejoicing. When he comes home, he calls together his friends, his family, his neighbors, saying to them, rejoice with me, for I have found my sheep which was lost. I tell you that even so, there will be more joy in heaven over one sinner who repents than over 99 righteous people who need no repentance at all. This is signed from Sally Morris Geiger, Esperanza Elizabeth Vargas Macias, Camila Luz Ledoux Garcia, and myself, Lisandra Perez Valdovinos. Thank you for your time. God bless you all.
Thank you very much. If I could respond to your comments. The Board of Trustees has a fiduciary responsibility to the university, and we take that fiduciary responsibility very seriously. I know that you reached out to Donna Murray Brown separately from the rest of the board, and then I responded as the chair of the board. This has been the policy of Northern Michigan University for as long as I've been involved, and I've been told forever that the board speaks on behalf of the entire board. The board chair does. And we've had other instances where people will go to individual board members. If there's an issue from Marquette, they would go to a couple of members from Marquette. In this instance, you chose to reach out to Donna Murray Brown, and she understands the process, having been active in so many organizations, and we discussed it, and that's the reason that I responded. I want to again remind you that you do have now, as a result of President Erickson, the same access to the Northern Michigan University Health Center as contingent faculty have. A task force has been established with 15 members, including graduate assistants, and faculty who are group program coordinators. This task force has met with the budget director. It has met with the HR director. It has met with 3 deans of the academic colleges, and they are going to provide some recommendations on November 1st to the president, who will take that to the executive council before he makes a decision regarding this. Look, we understand that the pandemic is a very serious problem, but as you look around this campus at Northern Michigan University, no school, I believe, in the country has done a better job of protecting all of the parts of the Wildcat community, whether they're students, whether they're faculty, whether they're staff, administrators, and the community. The small number of COVID cases that we've had is a direct result of several factors. The hard work of this board of trustees, the hard work of President Erickson and the staff, the incredible work of the faculty, but also the students who have been very responsible. Unlike many other campuses around the country, the students of Northern Michigan University have taken this pandemic very seriously. They wear their masks all around campus. They have not been going to large gatherings, large social gatherings. And so for that factor, we've had so few. The fact that we tested everyone before they came to campus, the fact that we continue to do surveillance testing of students is all part of the fact that we care very deeply about every part of this community. And that certainly includes all of the student employees that we have, student employees, whether they're graduate assistants or student employees on the front line in the dormitories or in the food services. All of these people are part of the Wildcat community, and this board cares very deeply about them. Certainly, we appreciate your comments, and when those recommendations are presented to President Erickson, then some sort of a decision will be done. But again, thank you for your passion, which we could feel in your comments today, and thank you for your concern, and we appreciate you being here. Thank you very much.
Opportunity to say just one word, just one thing left. Just-
Sure.
Okay. Just a note why we went to Dr. Donna Murray Brown. The whole board of trustees is full of white men and white folk. I am a person of color. Most of the people who are directly affected are people of color. So I went to Dr. Donna Murray as someone who would potentially understand our plight. It wasn't because we wanted to go against the whole board. It was truly because we wanted someone who understood us from where we were coming from. That's why we reached out directly to her. And then a final note is that you said that we had tested all students before they came into the school. That is false. We hadn't tested all the students before the first day of school. And that's when graduate assistants, we showed up at the forum with President Erickson, and we brought that to his attention. And that's why we went online the first week of school, because we brought it to the attention of the staff that how are we going back in person if we haven't had all the COVID test results back? How does that make any sense? So I'm not sure if you're distorting the facts here, and that's not right. We have emails and we have records where it says that we had not everybody had been tested for COVID before classes started, and we were still going to start classes. So that is on record. That's an email communication that we have received, and I will happily forward it to you, Chairman Mitchell, because it seems like you're uninformed as well. But I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. And let me just respond. As a result of the fact that all the tests were not back, we did in fact not begin face-to-face in-person classes for 7 days after school started. But thank you very much for coming in. We appreciate your comments.
God bless you all.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Eric Odom. Eric, we first had an opportunity to meet when I came to this board 8 years ago, sat next to you, and we talked about a wonderful new microscope that Dean Michael Broadway had gotten for the biology department. And I remember your passion and your intelligence. Then we had a chance to meet at one of the learning sessions at the ORDOC downtown, and enjoyed talking to you as well there. I know you're one of our many all-star faculty members, and we're happy to have you here today to make some comments to the board.
Well, Thank you, Steve. And I want to thank the Board of Trustees as a whole, Northern Michigan University's administration, and all stakeholders that allow me to make this short statement at the semi-annual meeting. As you just said, I've worked with the board for a number of years now. Many of you are in the room to introduce new programs and classes to the departments of biology and psychology. And these programs have taken root and are successful today. What brings me here this morning derives from an incident that occurred early in the semester when we were all dealing with coming back to campus under the threat of COVID, once again coping with the challenges of online teaching and learning, and all under the backdrop of civil unrest that resulted from, among other atrocities, the brutal murder of George Floyd. One of our new students reached out to a TA who, after hearing the issue, was very concerned and reached out to faculty members. The young man told us of a toxic environment that had developed in the dorms. He was being confronted both visually and verbally, unsolicited, with "All Lives Matter." This being told to him to his face and written on whiteboards. What was striking was the bravery of this young man, who had packed a suitcase from an urban center on one of the coasts and came by himself to our isolated campus that was far, far away from his home. He explained that he just wasn't used to these things being in his face. Where he was from, people just left you alone. More stories started trickling from students to faculty, students being singled out and bullied in the cafeteria, students being met with the visage of the Confederate flag on vehicles and on walls. One student posting a video to social media describing what an unwelcoming environment Northern was to people of color. Now, it's at this point that I want to express my deep admiration for one of our new flagship programs at NMU, medicinal plant chemistry, both for its academic rigor and its ability to attract new students. New and diverse students from all across the country and across the world. Many of these students are required to take an introductory biology course that I instruct. And all of a sudden, I am teaching students from Miami, from Memphis, from Houston, from El Paso, from Brooklyn and Queens, and from Los Angeles, and even from the country of Panama. Looking at the institutional data from its inception, this program alone has doubled its number of both Latinx and African American students in its major. And I want these students and others from underserved and Native populations in all of our majors to be welcome, not only by a faculty and staff that, with very few exceptions, believe in and fight for diversity and inclusion, but I want them to be welcomed by their peers. In no way should they ever be excluded, devalued, or made to feel as if they are the other. Having accepting peers is arguably the most important criteria for a successful college experience.
Thank you very much, Eric. I appreciate your heartfelt thoughts on this. And as a member of the board, obviously we find any idea that students would be discriminated against on this campus very troubling. And I'll ask President Erickson to respond to that as well. The Northern Michigan University, I know, is a place where everyone is welcome, and no one should be discriminated against. No one should be bullied. That is of great concern to me, and I'm sure it will be to the entire board. In balancing that, we also have to balance the First Amendment rights of people to put signs up that don't call for the cause of harm to anyone else. But certainly those First Amendment rights do not include doing anything that would be harmful to an individual in terms of bullying them or anything of that nature. That then falls into the category of hate speech. But President Erickson, perhaps you'd like to comment on this as well, but I can assure you that all 8 of the members of this board want to make sure that Northern Michigan University is a place where everyone is valued and that everyone is cared about in a way that the Wildcat community should do it.
Thank you very much. And Eric, thank you very much. Certainly appreciate and support your very eloquent comments. I think we do share your concerns, your vision for the future, and then it is something that we as an institution must continue to work on. And there are some things that we are doing, but it's clear there are opportunities to do more. we've worked to try and expand our training programs for residents, assistants in the residence halls. We've tried to develop mechanisms so that when incidences like this happen, that we're able to find ways in which we can create a dialogue and talk through it, but also to be supportive of students who really do legitimately feel that they've been targeted. As I've said on many occasions, hate has no place at this university. And your comments today clearly reflect that. And so I look forward to continuing to work together, continuing to work with Jessica Cruz as she continues to expand and develop the various training opportunities to help prepare us, as well as some of the mechanisms that I think we can begin putting in place to better respond to incidences that you've raised. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Eric, and thanks for all you do to make this such a great university. I appreciate it. And your concern for students is one of the things that makes this such a great university. So thanks again for speaking today, and thanks for bringing this to our attention. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Just a quick comment and question from my side, President Erickson. Do we have any type of policies surrounding like a no tolerance policy or zero tolerance policy for this type of activity and behavior?
We do. The line that we always, of course, run into is how do we address these issues, but also protect people's right of free expression. Universities need to be above any place else, places where there is the free and open exchange of ideas. And so working to make sure that anytime an incident happens, that we're able to review it, to make a determination, and if there is a violation of our university policy, to directly address that with anybody who does violate that policy. And so the answer is yes. And we continue to do more. I've talked in the past about the importance of having an incident response team. I think that's one of the tools that we can put in place that will expand the level of support for folks that have been victimized, as well as being able to find ways to address things that do violate our policy.
Thank you very much.
Any other comments from any board members? Thank you very much. Next on our agenda, I want to call on Dr. Russ Manyagi to give us a report on a moment of NMU history. As a history political science major from Northern Michigan University, I did not have the pleasure to have Russ, but I had an incredible education from some brilliant professors in history and political science and throughout the school. And Russ has been a treasure for Northern Michigan University for a long time. So we're glad to have you here and glad to have you providing us with a moment in NMU history. Go ahead, Russ.
Okay, good morning. This morning's talk focuses on epidemics and NMU. The coronavirus is not the first pandemic to hit Northern Michigan University. The most serious one in the past to invade Marquette and the campus was the Spanish influenza of 1819, which ultimately killed 650,000 Americans. As with the COVID-19 outbreak, Marquette and the Upper Peninsula were not hit as hard as elsewhere in the country, but action was taken to halt the spread. The flu hit the campus a few weeks after the fall semester began, and President K closed the campus and students were sent home. In 1918, President K was able to get the Student Army Training Corps on campus. Through faculty visits across the Upper Peninsula, K was able to notify the Army that there were 104 young men ready to be trained for World War I. They were housed in the abandoned dormitory where St. Michael Church stands, and Northern was paid to train regular Army privates. However, due to the flu pandemic, the men were quarantined and wore masks when they left the building. Their biggest complaint was that they could not date college girls across the street on campus as they were looking forward to doing. The campus was fortunate not to have a student die of the flu. This was not the case of some of the alumni, both in the Upper Peninsula and the United States, who succumbed to it. The only faculty member to die was Samuel D. Majors, who came to Northern in the fall of 1911, served as professor of natural sciences, and inspired many students to achieve successful careers as scientists and educators. Around his busy schedule, he found time to analyze water supplies for the City of Marquette Health Department, engaged in soil testing programs, and tested milk for local and peninsula dairies. He served as chair of the research committee, which prepared the way for the commission form of government in Marquette. He also promoted national prohibition. The main bout of the flu had passed since its October high point, 1918. Then suddenly in January 1919, Professor Majors was stricken and succumbed to bronchial pneumonia complicated by heart and lung problems. In 1954, the Cambium Club of Northern established an annual award, the Samuel D. Majors Memorial Trophy, for the purpose of educating new techniques in the effective presentation of technical knowledge to the general public. The trophy was provided by his daughter, Dr. Mildred Majors, the first female professor at Northern to get a PhD in 1944. A plaque honoring Professor Majors is located in the biology department. The main wave of the flu declined so that Northern reopened in the winter of 1919. President Kay and the faculty were concerned about the lost semester. So they took action so that students were able to make up the lost work, and they graduated on time in June. There were other minor epidemics that hit campus. One year, students were kept on campus due to a typhus outbreak in the Lower Peninsula during the Thanksgiving break. 1930, there was a fear of smallpox epidemic, and the entire student body was vaccinated. It was a different time in the 1920s and 30s. For instance, a student was suffering from meningitis in a local boarding house. Not seeing him for days, the landlady called the dean of men, Don Bottom, who had to break into the room and found the fellow unconscious. He was sent to the hospital and recovered. His grateful family from Chippewa County sent the dean a carload of fruit and vegetables, which surprised him greatly. Polio shots were administered in 1957 as part of a national immunization program, and at the same time, a smallpox prevention program was initiated on campus. 20 years later, 1977, in November, a mild epidemic of stomach flu sent 133 students to the health center and 23 to the hospital. December 1968, an outbreak of viral illnesses sent 400 to 500 students to the health center within 4 days. Since the 1980s, HIV infections and other diseases are monitored by the health center. Varieties of the regular flu continuously plague the campus during the winter months, and both personnel and students are encouraged to take flu shots. As university historian, I would like to make a final comment. Northern personnel have done outstanding work preparing the campus for the opening of classes in the fall of 2020. To date, the campus has successfully remained open to both regular and distance learning classes, and COVID infections carefully monitored. A thanks is in order to the Board of Trustees, President Fritz Erickson, and the faculty, administrators, and students who made this happen. Thank you, and stay safe.
Thank you very much. What a timely presentation of the history of pandemics here at Northern Michigan University. I presume Majors Hall is named after one of the majors?
After Mildred.
That's what I thought, after Mildred Majors. Thanks very much. My grandfather died of the flu in 1918. So
did mine.
Oh, really?
Yes.
We have many things in common, Russ. Thanks very much. And of course, 650,000 people dying in a country of about 100 million in 1920. is a huge number, especially since we're almost 330 million now, and we've had, I think, 200,000 deaths. So it shows you the severity of that pandemic, even worse than the one that we're going through right now. But thanks very much, Russ. It's always a pleasure to have you here. Our next item is a report on the ASNMU from Ms. Emma Drever, the current president. Good to have you here, Emma.
Just for the record, it's Drever.
Drever, I'm sorry, Emma.
It's all right.
I
just
always
wanna
hear you
make sure
talk about as Emma, and nobody ever says the last name. I tried to mumble it, but obviously was unsuccessful in mumbling it successfully. So
Well,
Emma,
you learn
thank
something
you.
new every day.
Thank you very much.
So as Chairman Mitchell said, I'm Emma Drever. I'm the president of the student body, and I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about what the student government has been doing this year. I'm going to frame my presentation through the platform that my running mate and Vice President Bethany Beavers and I ran on and were elected on, and how we're implementing that to the student body today. So the first component of that platform is advocacy. I'm actually going to talk about these out of order because, you know, life is random, so they're in a random order. The first thing I want to talk about is Indigenous Peoples Day. As y'all know, because we worked with you this summer to get this passed, the university officially recognized Indigenous Peoples Day after seeing 5 years of various legislation from ASNMU. I'm the 5th president from ASNMU to oversee this effort, so it was really cool to have that culminate under my leadership, even though I did not do all of the work to get this done. It's really been a group effort from the students and from the administration, and I was just thrilled to see how the day went. It happened this Monday. I don't know if any of you attended, but it was a great time. It was very informative. It was just an absolutely educational symposium, and that's what we wanted it to be. So I'm really, really happy to see that huge success right at the beginning of the year. The second part of advocacy is the student government, which is a 17-person assembly, is holding virtual meetings this year just to keep ourselves safe and our students safe, encourage meeting and coming together in an alternative format just to be leaders on campus. We're getting a lot of things done. We've passed a lot of different legislation that I'm going to talk about a little bit. So we're getting things done virtually, and it is happening. It's okay to do it that way. And then the third part, which is the first part, I guess, is voting and civic engagement. So in my life, I'm in the SLFP program here, and my internship is through the Campus Election Engagement Project. I'm a fellow there, bringing civic engagement and voting efforts to campus. We host different voter registration drives. We've been hosting streamings of the debates. We've held a letter writing campaign to encourage awareness about USPS and encourage people to engage with their elected officials by writing them letters, and just different events like that. One of the best things that's come out of this fellowship is the city clerk satellite office here on campus. Its information is on this slide. With this office, we're offering voter registration, absentee ballot requests for the city of Marquette. We're answering any questions that voters have. We have witnessed Wisconsin ballots, Minnesota ballots, answered questions for Illinois voters, helped people get stamps or figure out how to sign their ballots. Any questions that the voters have, we can answer them. And that's just super important because every voter has an individual situation, and it's so cool to see our students engaged in this process. It's also a great relationship between the university and the city that we're hoping to facilitate long after I'm gone. The second component of Bethany and my's campaign was accountability. The first way that we are holding ourselves accountable to the student body is restructuring our guiding documents. We passed a committee charge to review these documents. It's called the Constitutional Convention, and we're trying to rewrite our documents to update the way that we represent our students and how our committees are formed. Our structure is a little bit outdated. We're doing great work, but we could have a better guide, so we're trying to write that right now. We've also been doing a lot of networking. Our Academic Affairs Committee has weekly meetings with deans and department heads. They're working on different networking projects with our alumni. And for the first time since I've been on ASNMU for 3 years, we're having a graduate student representation. So that's really exciting to get to work with a group of students that I've never worked with before. And then We're also networking with Tech and LSSU. In the past, we've held the 1UP conference in the fall. Last year, it was actually in this room, but that's not happening this year because of the pandemic, but we're doing virtual calls with them bi-weekly just to see how things are going in the UP, see how running a student government looks in the UP during the pandemic, during an election year, and things like that. The third pillar of our campaign was action. So because of the pandemic, we have had to restructure all of our projects. We used to run a period project in the bathrooms, and all of the period products would sit in a basket on a shelf. And because of the touch point there, we're trying to restructure that project to encourage safety, minimize touch points, and different stuff like that. The kinks of that are still being worked out. We're working with the facilities department. We're working with eco reps just to make sure that that project can continue safely and we can continue providing the service to our students. We also run a career closet on campus, and instead of just taking appointments at will, we only take appointments 2 times a week, and there's 1 appointment a day on those days, just to make sure that we can have time to disinfect any clothes that people touch or try on, but that they can still receive the service as they need it. In terms of the 24-hour study lounge, ASNMU used to put this together during finals week, and then we started to expand it to the semester. It's currently in the entire structure of the library, which is great because we have so much space to spread out and to study at all hours. So I'm just really happy to see that service. I've utilized it personally, and it's nice to be able to go sit in a library and not just in one room and study and learn and just do that freely. It's a great time. And then in terms of health awareness, we're working together to put on a day or a week called Our Health Day that's going to talk about uterine and feminine health and also mental health. We've been working with the Dean of Students office because they've given us access to 24-hour crisis counseling. So we're just trying to make sure that that marketing is out there and students know that they have the support that we can give them and that the university can give them. That's just a super quick overview about what we're doing. I'm incredibly proud of my assembly. It is only October and we're doing so much, and it's just really great to be a part of everything in this unprecedented year. As the presentation you just heard said, we didn't have a fall semester last pandemic. So I'm the first student body president ever during a pandemic, and it's a great time. I love having the role. I love being able to work with the students, especially the voters. That individual connection has just been really meaningful. But yeah, that's our student government. I can take any questions.
Does anyone have any questions for Emma Drever?
I have a question.
Steve first.
Yes, Emma, on the career closet, I'm interested in that program. So you're still accepting donations, and if someone brings stuff in, what do you have to do to the clothing that you accept now versus what you had to before the pandemic?
Sure. So people have asked if they can bring in donations, and honestly, our closet is pretty well stocked. So we're only kind of accepting certain sizes, which has minimized our donations a lot. We do ask people to wash the clothes before they donate them. And then we also quarantine the clothes for like a week just to make sure before we put them into our closet.
Just to follow up to that, then if someone wanted to make a donation, who do they get a hold of if you're looking for particular sizes or?
For sure. You could email the student government at asnmu@nmu.edu. Just be like, hey, I've got some clothes to donate. Is this something you could accept? If you let them know the sizes, they'll get you sorted. Thank you.
Trustee Brown.
Yes, I had a question in regards, just high level. How do you determine what projects you're going to do? What's the process for that, and how often do you relook at that to see if it's
Sure.
relevant?
So some of the projects are in our guiding documents, such as the career closet. The 24-hour study lounge is listed. We also do a bike share, but that's kind of on pause right now, again, with the pandemic and the touch points. And then it's just a matter of what the people want to do or what the community needs are. So for example, if it's not an election year, we probably won't have an ad hoc voter-friendly campus committee, but that was created back in January to assess the needs for the primaries, and it's obviously still running because election season is still running. Likewise, we have an ad hoc committee that's looking at the graduate assistant health insurance initiative, and we're trying to work with those students that way.
that's not been a need in the past in the community that has been addressed to us. So we haven't had that before now. But people join ASNMU because they want to work on things, they want to advocate for things. I joined 3 years ago to advocate for mental health. Now I'm doing voting things, but different people join for different reasons. So that's why we're able to put on like our Health Day initiative, because someone came here and said, I want to do this, give me the resources and let's get it done. Thank you.
I have a question as well. Emma, in terms of the ability to get new members, has the pandemic made it difficult for you?
Yes and no. In the past, we've been able to canvas at orientation. Last year with orientation, we had like 15 applications from incoming freshmen or from new students. This year so far, we've appointed 4, whereas last fall semester we appointed 6. So it's diminished, but we're still getting our name out there in every way we can and just trying to encourage people to get involved.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Emma? I have a quick comment. I sent up a lot of suits and clothes to the career closet, had difficulty finding out where to send it, and never heard from anybody as to whether or not the clothes actually arrived there. So I don't know what your process is in terms of responding, but it seems to me that some sort of response of thank you, or at least an acknowledgement that the packages have been received would be very helpful.
For sure, definitely. I think the majority of our donations happen when our office is staffed, because our secretaries coordinate all of that. So they'll be like, hey, I'll be in here from 10 to 5 on Thursday. Can you drop it off then? And those people will make space. If that hasn't happened, I can reach out to my people who run it and see what happened and try
Yeah,
to get
because
you
I did not bring it up. I mailed it up. I sent it up by UPS or something.
Oh, okay. For sure. I'll look into it. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. All right, thank you very much, Emma Drever. I won't get that one wrong again. Now we have another president's report, President Erickson, whose name I do know how to pronounce. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let me begin by saying that if we were to take a poll in August, whether we'd be here face to face and still operating going forward, I think it would be overwhelming that most people didn't think we would make it this far. It's been a remarkable process that's allowed us to hold in-person classes, remote classes, support on-campus living, working environments, and to keep the campus going. And as so many people have said, it's really been a collective effort. And Trustee Haveman reminds me I am not allowed to jinx this because we've still got 5 weeks to go in the semester, but you know, our fingers remain crossed and we now remain optimistic that we'll be able to be an institution that makes it through this semester. And I think we're all very much looking forward to November 23rd and folks being able to head home and take a much deserved break. A couple of pandemic notes I do want to point out that one of the many tools that we've put in place, thanks to the work and suggestions of so many, has been the COVID-19 dashboard. And it was interesting the other day that we were one of 26 universities to receive an A or A+ grade by, there's always one of these around, ratecoviddashboard.com. The group that's gone out and really looked at dashboards. And, you know, we scored 10 out of 13, one of very, very few institutions nationwide that they rated that gave it an A or an A+. And I think, and I've heard from so many people, that that's been one of the tools that they've used all the way through. We have people that check this dashboard every day, me. But more than that, you know, and that continues to be good, and really appreciate the development by the NMU Information Technology team with Tony and Chris and Genevieve and others, and most certainly Dr. Chris Kirkpatrick, who's taken it upon himself as the medical director to do the constant updates. When we have something new, we post it. It's a daily thing. One of the things I had the great joy of doing last week was an opportunity to teach both a remote Zoom class and then the same class but different section face to face. It certainly gave me a real appreciation for what it is that our faculty have to do and the commitment of being able to effectively double a workload. I mean, just to be able to teach remotely and then come around and teach the same stuff face to face. We had great discussions in the class. This was a student leadership fellowship program class. Our students had lots of great questions and talked about their experiences of being both remote and in person. And there were a couple of real takeaways for me. One of them is that that group of students, and I think they're pretty reflective, will tell you that learning via remote is far more work than learning face to face. And I think that's something really important for us to remember. In fact, they're feeling a bit worn out with all of this because of the challenges and the amount of work and so forth. And it's very important that we pay attention to that and to make sure that our students are paying attention to all of their other needs as well as their class needs. Of course, lots of other things go on beyond COVID. I'm just really happy to see such things as the North Cross Group and Northern have entered into a wonderful cybersecurity partnership that provides opportunities for student internships. The Norcross Group has been really engaged in the academic program and working with, excuse me, the UP Cybersecurity Institute. I think this is a foundational partnership that will lead to many more opportunities around cybersecurity. Just really delighted that the North Cross Group decided to open an office here in Marquette, and they have other offices in Maine and Virginia, but actually chose to come here in large part because of the kind of program that we're doing. I was going to give you a whole bunch on the Center for Rural Health Activities, but you got to hear that a little bit earlier. That's a remarkable program. To going down, and it's the center focuses so much on the opportunities that we have to engage and promote quality of life issues here in the Upper Peninsula. Really pleased with that. Of course, I really am excited about the Fight the Flu contest with us and Lake State and Michigan Tech. And so we had a very successful first day with over 500 flu shots given on the first run out the door, and really expect to have a very high turnout. And we think that's a very important process. A couple of grants worth noting. The Bear Center received a $500,000 grant from the Michigan Health Endowment Fund to help it reach a wider portion of the UP population. Services were previously limited to children between the ages of 2 and 6. One of the great things about this grant is that the Bear Center will now be able to serve an entire school age population, 2 to 22, as they like to say, and address a wider range of behavioral difficulties. The creation of the Bear Center has been one extraordinary program, as you're well aware of. And this kind of support just extends that. The Department of Social Work received a grant of nearly $450,000 for 3 years to support Walking the Path Together, which is a program designed to reduce barriers to hiring and maintaining staff in UP tribal-run victim service programs. Very excited about the work that they are doing. Those dollars came to us from the U.S. Department of Justice, Office of Victims' Crimes. I guess I just kind of end up, I can go on and on. Let me just end up with a little bit of an update on athletics. Hardly a day goes by that somebody doesn't ask me about athletics. At this point, it looks like Division I hockey will begin with non-conference competition late November, early December, working on some ideas about how we might be able to host a tournament. Working through all of the intricacies of that, but I'm very excited. And then conference play will begin after January 1st. Our new esports team participated in its first round of tournament a few weeks ago. And our national training site of Greco-Roman wrestling recently began their competition. And our weightlifting team is scheduled to compete starting in December. In terms of other intercollegiate sports, men's and women's basketball competition is planned to begin in January, along with men's and women's alpine skiing. Very excited about that one personally. Men's and women's Nordic skiing, outdoor track and field, swimming and diving. And so it'll be great fun to have those student athletes with that level of engagement. And finally, almost finally, our spring sports, which include lacrosse, men's and women's golf, and women's outdoor track and field, looks like we'll be able to compete as originally scheduled, with women's volleyball starting in February, and men's and women's soccer is now planned to start in March. However, with all of that good news, it does not look so good for football or cross country to have competitive seasons so far. No official announcement has been made by the GLIAC, our conference, but the discussions continue, but they're proving to be the two most difficult to figure out how to be able to offer safely. With that, I'd be delighted to answer any questions you might have.
Who has some questions for President Erickson?
President Erickson, going back to COVID and the tremendous action and planning that this university's taken, how many active cases do we have right now? How many are in quarantine?
We have, I believe, 10 active cases as of yesterday. I didn't look this morning, but yesterday we had 10 active cases, and nobody is in Spalding Hall right now. So no isolations and no quarantines. The active cases we have are all off campus.
I just think that's excellent. And I think also I've heard so many positive comments about the dashboard.
Yeah.
It's a tremendous tool. And I know that a number of other universities around the country have looked to it as a model. So great work. I just wanted to put that on the record.
Thank you so much.
Other comments for President Erickson and the report? Thanks very much, Fritz. You and the team have done an extraordinary job. The whole university has. And you can't say enough about the students who have remained disciplined, who have not gathered in large places, in part because you and Mike Bath are out there making sure that they don't gather in large groups, and that's terrific. But Dr. Kirkpatrick, Mike Bath, and Cindy Pavala, Colonel Dave Adams, who helped us create our strategy, and everybody involved, which is the whole university. I mean, the Wildcat community has just done an extraordinary job. So congratulations to you and for everybody here on campus, and my fellow board members who have worked so incredibly hard this year as well.
Thank you.
We'll now have our committee reports, starting with the Academic Affairs Committee. And that chairs, of course, Trustee Hart will give us that report.
Thank you, Chairman Mitchell. An Academic Affairs Committee meeting of the Board of Trustees of Northern Michigan University was held on October 16th, 2020. The meeting convened at 8:33 a.m. by myself. The committee members present were myself, Trustee Lisa Fatante, Trustee Donna Murray Brown, ex officio members, Chairman of the Board Steve Mitchell, and President Dr. Fritz Erickson. Also in attendance, Dr. Carrie Schuling, Provost and Vice President of Academic Affairs, and also ex officio. Also present but not participating was Trustee Jim Haveman, Trustee Robert Mahaney, Vice Chair Tammy Savoy, and Trustee Steve Young. The committee received informational reports and presentations on the following topics. I was able to provide an update on the charter schools activity that was presented to the Academic Affairs Committee from Casey Holder. Additionally, Dr. Norma Froelich, Chair of the Academic Senate, updated the committee on Senate activities. And Ms. Elise Burr, who is our new director for the Center of Rural Health, provided us an overview of the current development efforts and accomplishments of the Center for Rural Health. We heard some extraordinary things that are going on in a very short amount of time, and it's very inspiring. The meeting adjourned at 8:57 a.m.
Thank you very much. Any comments about the Academic Affairs Committee report? Next report then is Extended Learning and Community Engagement, Vice Chair Savoy.
An Extended Learning and Community Engagement Committee meeting of the Board of Trustees of Northern Michigan University was held this morning, October 16th, 2020, in Ballroom 1 of the Northern Center of Northern Michigan University. The meeting was convened at 9:00 a.m. by me. Committee members present included me, Alexis Hart, Donna Marie Brown, and ex officio members, Trustee Steve Mitchell and Fritz Erickson. Also attending but not participating was Trustee Steve Young. The committee received an informational report regarding the global campus, scope of work, and strategy. The update was for informational purposes only and no action was required. The meeting adjourned at 9:30 a.m.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments regarding the Extended Learning and Community Engagement report?
Just a quick comment from my side. Dr. Steve Vandenhoven, who presented the information for the activities, I think that this is really a ripe opportunity for us in our current environment to continue to focus on our global campus and understand how we can continue to evolve our efforts in this space. I'm extremely pleased that we're taking more focus on this right now. I think it was just last year that we formed a committee around this topic. So I was excited to hear about an overview of what's going on and excited to meet more frequently on some of the things that we can try to take advantage of. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other comments on that committee report? Seeing none, the final committee report is the Finance Committee. Trustee Young will give us that report. Steve?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The meeting of the Finance Committee met at 4:30 on Tuesday, October 15th, here in the Northern Center Ballroom 1. It was chaired by myself, and also present were Trustees Haney and Haveman on the committee, as well as other members of the Board of Trustees and the Finance and Administration Division staff. Although the trustees not on the committee were present at the meeting, only committee members participated in the meeting. The committee was provided with the following informational updates. Financial key indicators for October 20, which there was no action taken on that. The committee accepted the following report as written. The audit issues report, which was accepted and approved by the committee. The committee recommended that the board approve the following, which are included in the board formals for everybody. Fiscal year budget 2021 general fund budget, fiscal year 2021 designated fund budget, fiscal year 2021 auxiliary services budget, fiscal year 2021 housing and residence life budget, the October 2020 5-year facilities master plan, the fiscal year 2021 long-term maintenance project list, and the approval of 2 temporary licenses. The committee adjourned at 4:54 p.m.
Thanks very much, Steve. Any comments or questions regarding the Finance Committee report? Seeing none, thank you, all 3 chairs, for the great job that you're doing with these committees. This system is a very important one for all of us, and I'm glad that we have the extended learning and community engagement part of it now, as Alexa said, because it's an important part of Northern's future. Our next item on the agenda is a action to approve the formal recommendations. This is a consent agenda item. So is there a motion to approve the formal recommendations?
I move that we approve the formal recommendations as presented.
Is there a second?
Support.
Been moved and supported. Secretary Andrew, will you please call the roll?
Please indicate by yay or nay. Trustee Hart,
Yay.
trustee Haveman,
Yay.
trustee Mahaney,
Okay.
trustee Mitchell,
Yay.
trustee Murray Brown,
Yay.
trustee Savoy,
Yes.
trustee Young.
Yes.
Among those here, it is unanimous, so the formal recommendations are approved. Now, I'd like to turn it over to Fritz Erickson to discuss the ASCME contract, which is being presented to us today for a board approval. President Erickson?
Yes, thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity. We've concluded the negotiations with the AFSCME group. This group of employees is a very important group of employees to our institution, and we appreciate all the hard work and engagement that we do. They have ratified the contract negotiations, and those had all appeared in your notes. And I would urge you to approve that contract.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion to approve the ASCME contract?
So moved.
It's been moved and
Second.
seconded. Discussion on the ASCME contract.
I appreciate the quick work that the university has done on working toward this and both parties working so quickly to get something settled and before us.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments regarding the ASCME contract? Seeing none, Secretary Andrew, will you please call the roll?
Please indicate by yay or nay. Trustee Hart,
Yay.
trustee Haveman,
Yay.
trustee Mahaney,
Yep.
trustee Mitchell,
Yes.
trustee Murray Brown,
Yay.
trustee Savoy,
Yes.
trustee Young.
Yes.
Again, among those present and voting, it's unanimous. The ASCME contract is approved. And we thank everybody for the great work that they did on that, on both the administration side as well as the union side. These are tough times, and we appreciate all the work that's being done to make Northern keep moving forward in the right direction, with everybody rowing in the right direction. President Erickson, we would like to have you now call to make an announcement regarding the next informal closed session.
Yes, I'd like to announce that an informal closed session of the board will be held in conjunction with the December 2020 meeting of the board.
Thank you very much. Now, comments for the good of the order. Let me go clockwise around the room, starting with trustee Mahaney.
My only comment is, and I realize that I might be getting into a little bit of hot water here, but I'm a little bit bothered by the premises that were stated earlier today by some of our speakers in regards to this community and the current social issues that are before us as a country. This has been a welcoming community to Northern students for over 100 years. And I think it's really, I wouldn't, my takeaway from some of the comments was that the actions of a few individuals are being portrayed as the actions of a community. And I've lived in this community for 30 years. It's been a very welcoming community. It's been an inclusive community. We're not perfect, but there's a lot of good people here. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Thanks very much for that. Jim?
I have two comments. One is I really appreciated Lise Burr's presentation, and I think this is going to have a real impact in the workforce and the overall collaborative approach to a healthier UP. And I certainly like to, again, thank Provost Schuling for kind of being the shepherd of this through the process. And I think this is just the beginning of a rural health center that's really going to be an exciting thing. And I also appreciated Eric Adams' comments as a professor on the university on acceptance inclusiveness. And this is something that we just got to continue to work on. And I appreciate, Fritz, your comments on this. And I know this is where we want to be, and it's tough. Systemic racism goes back, just hundreds of years in this country, and we got to continue to work on it in our hiring and our sensitivity and acceptance and tolerance. And I would just encourage that the pieces that are in place right now that are moving that direction, that we really give it the support and continue to give it the momentum that it well deserves, because it's only then that we're going to have a country that settles down and moves to where we want it to be.
Thanks very much. Jim, Alexis?
Thank you. I'd first just like to recognize the fantastic efforts on the part of our faculty, administration, and also our students with respect to the safety and I think the respect that we're exhibiting for each other and each other's health as a university community. I think that the results that we've seen are absolutely fantastic. Obviously, zeros across the board is an ideal situation. But if we look across the country and some of the things that have happened at other universities, it's just indicative of the amazing efforts and creativity, I think, in many circumstances that we've implemented as a university community to keep our students and faculty and administration safe. So kudos to absolutely everyone. We heard some fantastic updates yesterday from Dr. Paul Mann as well as Dr. Kirkpatrick. And I think it's just amazing as I walk around this campus to see, everyone in compliance like they are and wearing their masks and recognizing, again, just a general respect for themselves, their own health and their university community. I was looking at this card today and there, there's a diversity statement on here and we sit with this and we have this on here and it's in front of us every board meeting that we have. I truly believe that, diversity and inclusion is a foundational building block of our university. And, we had the opportunity today to hear some topics around that. And as my colleague trustee Mahaney expressed, I was a little, I'll be very honest, I was a little taken aback and surprised by what I felt was an implication of a lack of understanding of some of these topics that go on. There was even a comment regarding the quote unquote whiteness or maleness of the board. I am the daughter of a gay father who is very well aware of the challenges that some of our minority groups face. I think it's important that our young people think with respect to making sure that they're addressing the true topic that we need to address and not necessarily judging a book by its cover. In addition to that, I was very thrilled in our last board meeting that we were able to have the passage of our Indigenous Peoples Day, which has been successful. So I do understand that there's always work to be done. And again, I think it's important that we address together collaboratively and respectfully the true issues at hand as we move forward and ensure that we continue a diverse and inclusive community for everybody. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Alex. Donna?
Yeah, I actually wrote mine just to be succinct. But today we heard passionate commentary by two members of our campus community. Their comments were embedded in the immense feeling of not being respected, included, and physically or emotionally safe. It is a delicate balance to hold tensions of contradiction. That is honoring our mission, vision, values, and at the same time, hearing from others that our actions or policies or practices illuminate a different reality. I am encouraged, and I encourage administration, faculty, and staff to find ways to hold these tensions as opportunities for self-reflection and perhaps new ways to address some of the issues we heard today. Whether it's the development of a task force and making routine practice to disaggregate data to understand more fully who is being impacted by certain policies and practices. I continue to be proud to serve as a Board of Trustee member, and I look forward to how I can continue to support the work and vision of NMU. Lastly, and on a different note, I'm in awe of the hard work of NMU, the entire team, the entire Wildcat community on the management of COVID-19. It is second to none. And I'm truly appreciative of all that has been done so far and continues to be done to keep our community safe. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Donna. Steve?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and certainly appreciate the comments of the fellow trustees. And I know we have a couple to go yet, but they're right on mark and very well taken. I just want to say a couple of things. I want to thank Fritz and your team again. And I've said this before at board meetings, for all you do to make these meetings safe and productive for us. I know it's not easy. We're dealing with this COVID-19 and it creates some difficult obstacles sometimes to doing this, but it works and you're doing a great job. And I think the fact that we're all be able to come together and see each other face to face and not on Zooms is important. And I appreciate that very much because I know a lot of work goes into that. What struck me as I was sitting here for the last couple of days listening to the presentations is the enthusiasm of our faculty and our staff and our students and the passion as well. And I think it's that enthusiasm, it's not a good word to use right now, but it's contagious. I think when we come up here and we see that enthusiasm and we listen to these presentations, it's phenomenal. And, you know, I use as an example at the homecoming, during the homecoming, there was a program that I watched online, was called, I think it was Arts and Athletics, which I don't know if anybody else has seen it. I assume you have, but it's a phenomenal program that was put together by our students and our faculty, highlighting singing and just all kinds of theater and art stuff, and it was phenomenal. But to me, that's an example of how this enthusiasm kind of rubs off, because you watch that and you go, that's really cool. And you wonder if other universities are doing that. I don't know if they are, but I'm glad we are. And I think that it's important to look at that, not just in that it was really cool to watch and it was a great production, but it's indicative, I think, as an example of the innovation that we're seeing coming out of our faculty and staff and our students that is not only getting us through this time, but I think is going to position us well for the future as we come out of COVID. This innovation is going to stay with us for a heck of a long time. And I think that it's incubated a lot of that innovation that we will see dividends from that for many, many years to come. So I just wanted to make sure I let faculty and staff and students know how much I appreciate that and ability to participate and watch that even in a passive way. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Steve. Tammy?
I want to say thank you so much for allowing us to meet in person, and Steve for insisting on it. I really appreciate that. In this day, so many boards are meeting virtually. And while I understand that that's something that is necessary in many instances, Northern Michigan University has taken all the steps needed in order to enable us to be here in person when we can get the full experience that Trustee Young pointed out just now. We see the enthusiasm. We get so much better picture of what it is that's happening at this university by being here in person. I want to thank you who are taking care of our technology for us, all the people behind us who are responsible for bringing us together here. I want to thank all the efforts of the hospitality staff as well to keep us comfortable in this time. This has been a great experience for all of us to be back together again and have the ability to see what's going on campus, to experience it, and to better govern this university. Thank you very much to Fritz for being on top of what's happening with the graduate students. I think that having the ability for them to protest and show us what it is that they're experiencing and having difficulty with is an important part of their educational experience and their civic engagement as well. I so appreciate the fact that you had a task force already lined up and already addressing the issue. It made it much easier for us to see, appreciate, and know that you're already on top of it. So thank you all.
Thanks very much, Tammy. You look at the dashboard and, right now we have 9 total active positives. The total positives we've had on our campus here, not including the global campus, obviously, are only 75, 39 of those off-campus students. It's absolutely incredible. Right now, there are 0 students in quarantine. It's stunning how well this university has done it and how well it continues to do it. And Jim, you're right, we've got to keep our fingers crossed. And as long as I'm mentioned your name, Jim, the rural health is really your baby, and it is really doing the things that you anticipated it would do. The dashboard, which was so highly regarded, you added a lot of tweaks to make that happen, and we really appreciate all that you have done. I do want to finish up my comments by responding to some of the comments that were made earlier today. I'm an old white guy. Matter of fact, I'm the oldest white guy here. But in my company, for a period of 9 years out of the 35 I've been there, the phone room supervisor has been African-American. And the reason I hired an African-American supervisor, first of all, they're both outstanding employees. But secondly, I knew they'd bring in other African-Americans because African-Americans feel comfortable applying for a job when there's an African-American supervisor to do so. And so we have, through the years, had a disproportionately high number of African-Americans who work for us. About a half a decade ago, far before it became the topic it is today, we had a transgender employee. Transgender employee did a terrific job. We really appreciated the work that he did. And again, this was not something forced upon us by the law. It's something we did. And we did it because it was the right thing to do. The phone room supervisor at that point, not knowing what to do, said, we have a transgender person making application. I said, well, it was a she that preferred to be called a he, and so it was a he. And so we said, is he a good phoner? Yep, so we'll hire him. And we did, and he did a terrific job for us. So the idea that just because I'm an old white guy, I don't have a concern for African Americans or transgenders, gay, lesbian community. I've got a grandnephew who's gay. I understand that community as well. So, and have real empathy for those individuals. The problems in the dorms, this balance of freedom of speech with not bullying. I had a conversation with a very bright guy that worked for one governor who said that somebody's comments were hate speech. And I said, no, that's not hate speech, because I understand. I've read the Supreme Court decisions on hate speech. Hate speech is me saying to somebody, I don't like you because of who you are, what you are, and I'm going to take action against you. I'm going to beat you up. But if you want to say, I don't like people because they are this, this, and this, that is unfortunately or fortunately. I think fortunately, because we have a First Amendment protected speech. And so we have to be very careful as we balance this, what is protected and what is not protected speech. As a Jew, the Nazis wanted to march in Skokie years and years ago. And of course, the Nazis killed 6 million Jews. But as an advocate of free speech, I absolutely defended their right, in some cases, to other Jews who did not feel they had the right. They had the right to do it. Why? Because we have a First Amendment that allows us to peaceably assemble. So as a university, we have to balance the protections of individuals to make sure that there is no hate speech, but we also have to protect that speech which is protected by the First Amendment. We're doing a great deal. We're putting more money into diversity and inclusion, the AIM North program, one of the initiatives that was passed by the board back in December. These are tough issues. These are tough times to deal with these issues. And I know that Fritz and his entire team and this board are very cognizant of what's going on in America. I'm just always proud to be a Wildcat because I think we do everything just about better than anybody else, and we'll do this better as well. So those are my final comments.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mr. Mahaney.
could I add one
Sure.
last comment I overlooked?
Yes.
I never thought, and thank you for your comment. First of all, thank you for all the thoughtful comments around this board table. I have the greatest respect for each of you and each of your comments and what you all contribute. It's an honor to be part of this board. Having said that, I never thought that talking about budgets could result in a lighter moment, but I think it might. I think we would be remiss not to recognize all the extraordinarily hard work under some very trying times in an era of uncertainty that I'm sure for all of us in our lifetimes has never been witnessed before. So I just want to express my appreciation as a member of the Finance Committee, as a member of the board, for all the yeoman work that was put in by Vice President Leach, President Erickson, the entire team, a lot of people across the university. It is really remarkable that we have come out of this as strong, if not stronger financially than when we went into this. I don't know who else can make that statement in higher ed today. The result of the work that we put in to the budgeting and financial management of this university is going to result, I am convinced it is going to result in some tremendous opportunities coming out of this for this university. It's transformative. So kudos to everybody that was involved in that. It was remarkable. And I was just honored to be part of it. Thank you.
I could not agree more. And thanks to the efforts of Chair Steve Young and this committee with Trustee Haberman and Trustee Mahaney, we've really done an extraordinary job. And of course, Gavin Leach is the premier vice president for finance of all the universities in Michigan, no matter how big or small they are. When we built the first public-private partnership dorms, the Woods, the big major universities were calling up Gavin to figure out how to get it done. He is just an extraordinary employee. And for the record, we spent almost $3 million, $2.9 million on COVID-related activities to protect the students, to put in the plexiglass, to do the testing, to do all the things that would make this campus such a safe place in this very difficult time. So thank you all very much. With that, this meeting is adjourned of the Northern Michigan University Board of Trustees at 11:22 on October the 16th, 2020.